afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are joining us from. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi. All right, so this is our sixth session that we are doing. So we've got a couple of points, also known as rules perhaps, so just some minor things just to keep in mind as we're going through this. So first of all, important, session's going to be, or it is being recorded, it's already started, and attendance is not anonymous, so your name can be seen. So if you're not comfortable with that, then you will need to leave, because this will also be posted online as well. There are two sections in this. There is chat and there is Q&A. So use the chat for just like general chat, saying hello to each other, whatever it might be. The Q&A is the section where we'll be reviewing. So go ahead, please, and put your questions in there and we will go through them. We'll invite you to ask in person. So Amey will be able to essentially give you the ability to unmute yourself, but you will need to take that last step so that you can actually speak. Specific examples are fine, but please don't share sensitive data. Again, this is being recorded. The questions should be on the topic of customer insights journeys, not data. We're not data girls in that sense. We'll attempt to answer as many questions as possible. That really depends on how many are on the call and also how many questions there are. But I think we've got a slightly smaller number for this one now, because like I said, it's a 6th one, so we should be able to get through everything. Also, if you see people asking questions in the Q&A, feel free to add comments if you think you can help. So if you've had the same experience or you've got a suggestion, feel free to help each other out. And then also, lastly, we don't accept any liability for you listening to what we say and then going off and doing something. You still need to have an understanding of what you're doing. And if you're working with a partner, check with them first before you go off and change anything. All good?
We do actually know what we're doing, but we just don't want to be blamed.
We do, but we're also not the ones actually doing it in your system. So I think we can only go so far on responsibility. So as we said, there's actually quite a few people joining. I've not seen anyone put in a question yet, and this is a Q&A session for you guys. So please, should we just waffle for a moment, Amey?
I have brought my emergency waffles.
So just while we're waiting, I guess, should we maybe talk about a couple of the overwhelmingly repeated topics that have come up and questions?
Yes. So the one that comes up, I bet the next question in the chat will be this one, is about segments and static segments, and are marketing lists going to go away? The good news is they're not. Well, I can't guarantee it, but it's very, 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 very unlikely, because marketing list is part of the core Dataverse table structure. So I don't think it's physically possible to remove it. So marketing lists will exist forever. You will need to put them on the sitemap for Realtime if you want them to be directly available, but they're really handy for filling the gap for static segments, which currently are quite restrictive with the new Realtime segment builder. That being said, things like how the marketing list used to work as subscription lists does not work with Realtime forms. There is nothing of that at the minute. Whether it comes or not, I have no idea. I would like it. So that's one thing that's come up quite a lot.
Yes, that's been definitely a repeated question over and over again. And like Amey said, that is a core that's been around since I've started doing stuff with CRM, which is like, I don't know, 2010 or so, 2010 maybe. But yeah, so I find a lot of people are hesitant to adjust the sitemap. So you mentioned about, like, if you want to have access to it, add it to the sitemap. If you have somebody that knows what they're doing, then you should be able to add it to the sitemap and not worry about it disappearing, being moved around, whatever. If you are a little bit uncertain, you could always add in a new section for yourself that is all of the things that you have customized and added into the sitemap. That way, you know, the Realtime section is as Microsoft intended it, but I've customized it so many times for my customers and we've never had any issues. So I would say it's fine to do that. We've waffled enough.
We
Oh,
lured you
yay.
in. Yay.
Right. So let's go first of all with Oriana Valentine.
Oh, wait, that's my job. 1 second. I've
That is your
forgotten.
job, Amey.
I'm on my
Yes.
way. I'm on my way. Stand by.
So,
Mic
Ariana,
enabled.
hopefully I said your name correctly, and you should be able to unmute your mic and ask your question.
Hi there. I
Hi.
just ran into this form this week that we're trying to customize the submission message in real time and just not finding a way to do that. But we're also not controlling the back end of this, our IT department is. So I'm not sure if that's even a feature that's available yet.
Submission message as in someone getting a notification internally, or the message that is displayed to the person that has submitted the form on your site?
Yeah, the second scenario, what's displayed after they hit submit, it's just a standard right now. We can't
Ariana,
customize.
I have so many blogs on that. I'll see
I
if I can
think,
find them.
yeah,
But Amy, have you
I've got
anything?
one too.
Yeah, I'll see
I
if I
did a
can
little
find.
blog on how to make the forms a little bit prettier. Things like doing like the little icon, and it also includes how to customize the little post submission icon. So I'll stick the link in there for you. It is, you've got to edit like the CSS inside the form. There's no like UI to do it, but you have control over that because you can edit the form HTML yourself without the IT people doing anything. That's just the form itself. So you should be able to update it using that method, and maybe Megan's got other ways to do it as well, but definitely possible.
Yeah, my two are, one of them is about, I mean, it's not just about this in this post, but specifically was to start off how you could change that image that shows. So the annoying little, thank you for submitting, and it's got the green tick with a little piece of paper.
Looks like clip art. Looks real
It
nice.
looks like clip art, it does. So I've got a blog on how you could adjust that and change that image. And then also it contains stuff about the CSS in there, so it should give you a bit more. And then also how you could display a thank you notification and then do a redirection after that. So if you still wanted to display that message, but then take somebody, you could do both of those. So I think between us, we've got a few posts that hopefully should help you out.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, not a problem. Chris.
I've enabled your mic, but also it feels like Art Attack when you're like, and here's one I prepared earlier. Thanks for that one.
Here's our blogs.
Yes, are you able to hear me all right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Perfect. And so, like I said, my question, I'm not sure if this is customer insights journeys or customer insights data, but we're in the process of implementing or in this migration to real time. And so we're noticing on the form submissions, we see the record that the form is submitted, but we're not seeing any website visits, website clicked, any of those analytics in that real-time insights dashboard.
Yes. It's funny, Chris, because you asked if we could hear you okay. As soon as we said yes, your mic changed and then sounded a little bit strange.
Oh.
But definitely understood and heard it all. So the website tracking and the analytics, so we're kind of in a bit of a sort of like limbo mode at this moment in time. So website tracking just came up January, that it was released in private preview. It's not private, sorry, public preview. So that was the ability to get tracking code and put it on your website. All that did at that time was it allowed you to then use those visits and specific clicks to start a journey from. So there's two triggers that would allow you to start a journey for real time. There was nothing else that was even possible. At this specific weekend just gone, I noticed that there were on the insights tab for a contact and a lead, which is where currently that's where you'd see all of your outbound site visits, form visits, it was starting to show up in real time. The good thing is that if you have put the tracking code on your site since it was available, like I said, in January, then you will see visits from way back then. That is it at this moment in time. There is no one place to go to see all of your website visits, but my hope is that that comes soon-ish. But yes, it's a bit of a hybrid at the moment because you could have outbound tracking code and real-time tracking code you'd see the same visits, but they would be in insights for real-time and insights for outbound. I don't know if that helps clear it up or just muddies things.
Yeah, I think that does help a bit. We're still, we've been asking a few questions on Microsoft ourselves, and so far the answers have been a little, a little wishy-washy.
Well, the timeline should start showing up those for real time at some point. Not sure there's an official time frame for that yet, but that is coming, and hopefully you'll be able to use those in segments and lead scoring at some point as well, but I have no clue on when that might be.
So I think, yeah, the data's there, you just can't see it.
Yep.
And you can't do anything with it yet. But in the fullness of time, you will.
Yeah. I mean, apart from triggers, but for me, I would want to be able to go and verify it. It's a bit of a black box, isn't it? Where it's like, oh, a trigger could start this because somebody's clicked on a website and I've tested it and okay, it works. But the fact that you've got nowhere to go to verify that it did happen, that's always a bit of a like, not a fan of that if you can't verify it. So hopefully that helps. I am gonna totally butcher this and I apologize. Arezu or Arzu?
Your mic's enabled. You can tell us how.
Tell me how terrible that was.
Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Do you have my voice?
Yes.
Arezu, okay.
Arezu, not too
yeah.
bad then. Okay.
Close.
Yeah. Thank you. I just have a question about the customer journey and using custom trigger in middle of the journey, because we have a scenario and in middle of the journey, we using the custom trigger and actually run a Power Automate flow in the background side. But I would like to get the response from the Power Automate flow and using in middle of the journey.
This is my dream.
Do you want to take that one, Amy? We had this one on our one of our other
This
calls,
one's
didn't
come
we?
up a few times, and I always thought it was me being strangely specific. But it's not physically possible at the minute. Because of the nature of the trigger, it's fire and forget. It runs async. It just says do something. I don't care what you do. So as you may have already know, the only way to do it is to start a new journey from that trigger, and then you've got the context. But obviously, then you do end up with disjointed journeys. Not currently possible. I have some suspicions that I don't know if it is possible with how it's been built, but that's just me being like a lame pretend engineer. I don't actually know. But just thinking about how it's all stuck together, it scares me that it might not be possible, and that's just me getting nervous. But yeah, currently there's nothing apart from starting a new journey.
Yes, because I try to do all of this process in one journey, because okay, in the Power Automate flow, I can call another custom trigger and go into the another. But yeah, actually it's like a dream exactly. I couldn't find also, but yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
That's okay.
Yeah, thank you for nothing.
Yeah,
it's
no problem.
It's a dream for I think a lot of people.
Definitely. Yes, exactly. Thank you.
No problem. Dawanika?
Your mic is enabled.
Hi.
Hello.
Yes. So my question is related to the, journeys that I've been designing in real-time marketing. It's been going great, very straightforward. I have not found any issues so far. But lately, what I'm observing is when I create the journey, add the email, I usually have, because it's a commercial real estate firm, I usually have 2-3 listings at once in the email. So it'll be like 3 CTAs for their marketing brochures, property videos, and I want to see the traction of each of the, CTA that I've included in the email. And what happens is sometimes those leads are being tracked correctly, coming in my leads, I'm able to see and assign them to proper, salesperson. And lately, like in last 2 journeys, the same steps were followed and the leads were not being seen. So the email was inserted, if then branch was inserted, the compliance profile was used correctly, and it just didn't come through. So I was like, is there in the, we are rebooting the system, we are changing something, or should I adopt some new way of assigning the leads? I was just confused about it.
Is your journey based on branching if somebody's clicking on specific links?
Yes.
So
Yes.
it could be that if somebody's clicking, so essentially, let's say you've got 3 listings and you've got 3 CTA buttons or links, then
Right.
someone might click on none of those links and actually click on a different link. Maybe you've got a logo at the top that links back to a
Right.
website, or you've got something at the bottom. If all your journey is doing is saying, did someone click on this link? Then the very first link that they click on is what then is determined what happens next. So you might
Makes
want to
sense.
do something else. And I think Pauline Caldy's written something specifically about this, where you've got the what's it called? Not repeat, not doing, what's it called?
Series.
Thank you. She did something about series specific to clicking on links for that very reason, because otherwise someone could click on one link and then they've passed that stage of the journey. They're never going to go back up around.
Right.
Amey, what are your thoughts? Have you run into that? Where you're looking
I can't. I never trust
I
link
don't trust
clicks.
clicks. No, I don't either.
I would never run a system on link clicks. There's too many things that can make it go wrong and give false positives, false negatives, just not work. And again, it's a bit black box for me. Like if I
Right.
want something to solidly work and I want like consistent behavior, I'd score based on things like clicks, but I wouldn't do things until you've got like a committed, like form submitted, like a solid something happened.
Right. So then,
Just because
you know,
it could be anything.
in this kind of, because the emails would be usually active listings, you know, thought leadership where the video is inserted, what should be the approach? Like, because sometimes people are just too lazy. Let's accept it that people are just lazy, or maybe they are just too busy to even fill out the forms. And however brief the form is, even though it's just, you know, asking for first name, last name, your business profession, and your email or your phone number, sometimes they don't end up filling the form. So what should be the approach in this
Form
this way,
prefill?
you know?
Are you using form prefill yet?
I have in few of the you know, email journeys I have, and I've got the success, but lately I stopped using it because we were going towards heavy video content, and we were, you know, going towards showing the video content majorly. So in a while I've not used it, but yeah, in the past I've used it.
Yeah. So have you already got leads for these people? They're already open leads?
Yes.
So I'd be using lead scoring. So I'd be sending out the emails and scoring based on clicks and views, but I would have a higher tolerance. Like I wouldn't say 1 click is worth them points, but I'd say like 3 clicks is worth points. So then
so
I'm
that's how they'll
scoring.
progress in the lead scoring. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So then I would watch the lead score to value the leads.
Oh, makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. I think I'll start assigning the lead scoring for all of them. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've got a few paths you can go down. So I've put a link to Pauline's blog post. Pauline Caldy, she'd written specifically about using the series. So that might help you and give you some ideas for the future. Just if you are wanting to use clicks, just have an
100%.
understanding of how that works. Also, lazy people, yes, they're all over the world. So if you can use form prefill, use it, because then in theory, if you've already got most of the information, then all they're doing is maybe filling in one field and then pressing submit.
Makes sense.
Look at those, and then what Amey suggested as well, look into the lead scoring, and maybe it might even be a combination of those things to really help you sort of fill all the holes.
Get the correct data.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good luck.
You're welcome.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Katarina?
I'm on my way. Stand by. Stand by. Do. Mic enabled. My favorite topic.
Thank you. My question is related to event portal built in Angular and calling the Outbound Marketing API. I know that there is a solution to update the API from Outbound to Realtime, but I'm just wondering if you could give us a recommendation on the next steps, not using Power Pages.
All you, Amy.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's
you said
fine.
it's your favorite subject.
It's my unwanted favorite subject.
Yeah.
It's like the unwanted, yeah. Okay, so if you're not using Power Pages, your options are a bit limited. What have I done? I've seen a few things. The main one I'm trying to do is damage control, because the instability of, like, for example, the Realtime API, I feel uncomfortable building on that because I know it's in preview and I know it's going to be under a lot of change. So I don't want to be building something for production that's using an API that's in preview and is constantly changing. It's awesome. It's constantly changing because it means we're getting new stuff, but it's very unstable. So I don't want to be building a new portal for a customer that's using that API. You could, but I wouldn't recommend it. And that would be you building it yourself. So obviously don't use Angular because we're not in the 1990s anymore, but you would use the API to build something custom. Be careful. Other options mostly result in you just using the real-time marketing form in the background. So like currently we've got this snippet where you can embed in the website. Essentially, that's just a bunch of redirect links to the forms. So you'd have to set up the forms anyway, if you're using that method. And basically at the end of the day, everything leads to using the new real-time event forms of a type event. So you kind of have to embrace it. Unless you're willing to go purely custom built and ride on the real-time API, you're going to have to use the forms. It's kind of like the situation. Have you looked at the forms in terms of what they'll do for you or not do for you, or you explored that at all?
Currently not in connection to the event portal, but we are using real-time forms for embedding them on the website, so the corporate website. But we didn't,
So just be careful, bearing in mind it's May, and you may be planning events ahead of June that they will stop working as well if they're created in Outbound, and you can't change an event from Outbound to real-time. Don't want to panic you, but be careful. And I hope you're not really organized and forward planned. So I would say you need to start creating real-time events and using the forms. And then you can add on the nice extras, like you can embed the widget in your website to show all your available events, or you can take those forms, embed them directly on specific pages on your website and set up your own event pages. It depends on what your relationship as well is between the team doing the events and the team that run the website, because sometimes they're completely different people and sometimes these teams don't like playing together. So it really depends on also the relationships between the people doing the events and the marketing stuff and the people with the website.
Okay, so say that we have currently 60 different courses that are up and running until the end of the year. Those 60 will have to be recreated, or all right, yeah.
Correct.
Even on sorry.
Some stuff, like your data will still be there, but you're going to run into problems for creating registrations, because obviously you can't use the outbound form anymore. You can't use the portal, so you can't add registrations. And also, even if you keep the event with just those registrations, things like the add to calendar function in the emails, that uses the outbound marketing API. So that's going to break. So there's lots of things that like the outbound event relies on, even though it's the same table, it has a very different structure in the back end. So you really, like, unless you're going completely custom and looking after every single automation yourself and removing the dependency on the API, you need to be really careful about keeping them alive.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, it's scary.
I mean, I was going to say, I guess worst case scenario in terms of if you've got an event that's already been launched and you've started to get registrations, you could potentially take those original event registrations and relink them to your new event. Should be okay.
Yeah,
so there's
just
ways
need to be careful about your confirmation reminder journeys,
exactly.
right?
Exactly. It depends on what journeys you've got. So it's more than just the event. It's all of the other bits and pieces that someone could have a wonderful journey that's set up and using emails and it, so it's all of that piece together that needs to be looked at. But worst case scenario, you could maybe do a bit of data relinking in the background. But again, as Amy and I said at the start, we take no responsibility for that. But that might be a way around some of the data issues and relinking registrations. But it's not ideal and it's not what we would suggest. But worst case scenario, you might be able to.
Thank you.
No problem. Prachi?
I'm so glad you took that name. I've enabled the mic.
I'm terrible. I need a lesson on.
Thank you so much. Yes,
You're welcome.
You did say it right.
Oh, hallelujah. Go for it,
Yay.
Prachi.
I think you did answer my question, but I
so,
think
yeah.
what we are currently doing is we have using event, and then we're embedding those event links into our website for event registrations. And we want to continue because there's no change on event planning module. We want to still continue using the same, but then use it in real-time marketing customer journeys. So would we, in that case, do we have to still create new events, or can we still use existing ones?
So is there going to be any new so I think I've pretty much answered it. So if you want to use anything like the add to calendar function, or any of the special event specific buttons inside the emails for these events, it's going to stop working. If you want to host somewhere to put the registrations in, unless it's completely custom, all your out of the box pathways for creating registrations, except manual creation of the system and custom API, is going to stop working.
Okay. Yeah. I think
I mean,
it makes sense. Yeah.
It's one of probably the biggest headaches, I think, is for people, especially when you've got events that you're promoting way in advance, or it's an ongoing thing, whatever, because there is no nice, easy, happy way around it. Is ultimately at some point you are going to have to create new events, and there's nothing to stop you from doing that now, because if you are currently taking the code and embedding the form on your website, it's you will be doing the same thing. You will just be using the option to say this is a real-time event as opposed to an outbound event. So I would start evaluating those events that you've got, which ones are going to come to an end naturally anyway before the end of June. Don't worry about it. I wouldn't even bother replacing them. The ones that are going to, do you have just a few registrations, in which case go ahead and recreate that event now, get the form on, and then those, I would say probably you can either remove those event registrations and then put them in manually, or maybe try and relink them to the new event. But either way, I would do some sort of analysis to see what you've got currently with events, how many are coming to an end anyway, how many are ongoing, and you would probably be best to start creating those events now.
Got it. Yep. Thank you so much.
No problem. No problem. Okay, so if you've got a question, please don't be shy. Go ahead and submit it. I'm just trying to think, Amey, in terms of, we touched on at the start some of the questions we've been having a lot of is all around segments and marketing lists and stuff. And also we've had a few questions that touch on one of the other popular topics, which is about events, and the fact that that's a massive change. I think we've also got a couple of things that are going to be gone completely that might be worth mentioning. So the LinkedIn lead generation.
Yes. Has that already been turned off though?
That was turned off. Yeah, it was.
Yes.
But like I said, the access to it is still in the sitemap, so it's still in outbound. And also I've just started working with somebody who didn't even know that it had stopped. So basically you'll still see that you've got user profiles, but then if you go and look at it, the sync status will be that it's expired. So if anyone on the call is using or thinks they are using, I can guarantee you're not. Because it stopped in November, I think, last year.
Yeah, November or December, yeah.
Yeah. And that one feels a bit wishy-washy. I think Microsoft have said it's gone, but it's gone for now. I don't know.
Well, they've posted a blog saying here's how you can build it yourself. So that says to me it's either it's gone or they're going to build it, but it's a long time away.
Yep.
So here's a way to build it yourself. I think because as well it got turned off before the official outbound switchover. There was a lot of uproar around like why is this sooner, but they obviously had to pull the plug. So there is a blog out there by the Fast Track Architects to say how to build it yourself. Yep. I do actually have it on my list to do this month for a customer for the sprint. It looks like pretty detailed. She's kind of nutted out the hard bit, which is all like the app registration, handshake, authentication bit, and then just left you to basically do what you need to do in the flow with the matchy woo-woos, which is actually nicer because the out-of-the-box one was pretty wild in what it did. Is a polite way of me saying pretty wild. So it will be nice, like when you build it yourself, it will be real nice. So if that's important to your business, I think it will be much more stable actually to do it that way.
What about redirect URLs? Did you have clients that were ever using that?
No, I never really understood them, but I know a lot of people did.
Well, somebody asked about that on one of the calls.
Yep.
So again, this is something else that is not transferring across to real time. So it's funnily, I had a conversation with somebody who thought that doing the redirect URLs would have some kind of bearing on their forms and redirecting somebody. So I had to kind of say, yeah, they've got nothing to do with each other. So the redirect URL section was where you could take a URL and you could go and create a redirect link, and you would use that anywhere in like social media posting, like putting in buttons, whatever, and it gave you one central location within the marketing app to see your analytics.
Mm-hmm.
And because they were showing up as like named tracking things as well, so you could see which of your contacts actually had gone to them, as opposed to only being able to look at stuff in Google Analytics. So it was a pretty useful tool if people used it correctly and said, right, we've got a campaign, we're going to post a link to this event everywhere, and we want to be able to see in dynamics which contacts have actually clicked on that link. That is what the benefit was.
Got it. Yeah.
As opposed to Google Analytics, I can see all of the traffic and the visits to it, but it's not named people that I can see Google Analytics.
Yeah, okay.
I thought it was really
now we've got
good.
the link alias could do the same now, right? If you did a segment, you could segment by clicked on a link and use the link alias.
You could, but that would be clicked on the link in an email.
Okay,
now we've got web tracking, but still
maybe
I can't go and see an
you can't
overview.
alias it. Yeah.
I can't see an overview of all those people, so that's where we lose it. So, Katarina's popped back up. We've got another question. You should still be able to speak. Yep.
I can, thank you. It is just that we are having user logins in connection to the event portal, and in fact, our clients first need to create a user profile, and then at that time they can actually register to the events. And I'm wondering if this step will cause any issues with the migration.
Where are they logging into? The Angular portal?
Yes, we are having, yes, that's how
now I'm
set up.
scared for you. So that's all gone. Like, so you will need a different place for them to log into, and you'll have to put your event forms and stuff behind that authenticated space. So there will need to be, it may be that you have a different Power Pages site that you spin up, and do it that way to handle the authentication in a similar manner. You may be able to just flatten the existing portal and replace it with your own, but you do need to build your own custom stuff because all of that's relying on the outbound. I know that I did look at for one customer replumbing the whole thing to work for Realtime, but we decided the juice was not worth the squeeze, and the APIs are not equally equivalent, the same. They don't do the same stuff yet, so you can't just rip one out and put one in.
All right.
So it would be, you'd have to build a new place for people to log in and be authenticated. Does the new Power Pages template cover that, Megan? Do you know?
Well, I was going to say, so Power Pages in general, obviously you can force somebody to log in, and you can then set up and say only people with this web role once they log in can see this. So if it's just that you don't only want people that are logged in to have the ability to register, then essentially it doesn't have to be Power Pages. It's got to be some kind of website that has some kind of login process. And then once somebody's logged in, then you'll allow them to navigate through and see the event pages and be able to register for them. So there doesn't have to be a tie-in necessarily with someone logging in and then registrations in any kind of way. But like Amey said, if you're currently forcing somebody to log in and they're logging into the existing event portal that is effectively the outbound portal that's going away, you'll need somewhere else for people to log into. Or you'll have to reassess and say, actually, do we have to force them to log in? Is there a specific reason? If not, let's go ahead and just expose those event registration forms embedded onto web pages. So obviously only you can answer that in terms of the requirement and the need for that. But yes, you will need a different place for them to be logging into.
Yes, in fact, we're using Entra IDs and web roles for this specific portal. Yes.
So that part, I guess, is should, unless Amey, you say no, it's completely different, in which case that's even more appalling. But with that portal, I would imagine that information is still stored just like it is for any portal, right? So on the contact record,
yes.
yeah. So you'd have
It
your web
is.
roles on the contact record. So potentially it could be that you don't have to go through the process of having everybody sort of set back up again and adding the web roles. You just
Yeah, you'd have to just nuke all the customization on that portal because like you can't just like randomly add a page to it because the Angular like is slapped on the top. So even if you go to Power Pages and add a new page, it doesn't show up anywhere because the crazy Angular is like slapped on top of it. So you would have to at some point, you'd obviously need a test version of it to be able to grab it, rip out all the Angular and re-customize it as like a normal portal. But yeah, the authentication is all part of the core portal, but it's also wrapped into this Angular monster.
Yeah. It was not their finest hour when Microsoft put that forth as the solution for the marketing event portal, was it? So thank you, Katerina. I feel like we've given a lot of sad information.
I know, bad news
to people. Bad news, bad news. Just trying to think in terms of any other things that you can think of, Amey, that are either deprecated or a struggle that you've experienced for people to sort of move from one side to the other.
I mean, there's that fiddly one keeps coming up where people want to do filtered lookups on the form. That comes up a lot, more than I thought people used, to be honest. So I was like, meh, whatever. Apparently it's a big thing. I don't know if that's ever going to arrive.
I believe it's in the backlog, but backlog means
a lot of things there. Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's on somebody's mind, but that doesn't always equate to even getting onto a roadmap, never mind actually being developed. So
yeah. The most consistent message I hear from multiple customers is being able to see what segments a contact belongs to.
Yeah,
like and filtering contacts with segments, like the way segments used to work. It's not like they used to be. There's a lot of like feature gaps with segments, like a lot.
Yeah. So for those of you that might not know, because if you've not actually delved into it yet, so the outbound segments, the relationship between contacts and the segment is a little bit different from real time. First of all, real time, you can do leads or contacts. But in outbound, and I've seen this a lot, I've used this myself, you can create a wonderful segment with all your people, all your contacts in it. And then you can go off and create a view of contacts and say, show me all contacts that are in this segment, which was great because you could then use it to review bounces, blocks, all sorts of stuff. And you could easily edit and bulk update your contacts. You cannot do that in real time. So if that is something that you are currently using for outbound and have views that pull in people in segments, apologies, I didn't do it myself. I don't know why I'm apologizing. However, you won't be able to do that. I'm really sorry. You won't be able to do that with real time because it doesn't work that way. It's not, the relationship doesn't exist to be able to display the contacts or the leads. So bit of a frustrating one, that one, but yes, that's kind of like a gotcha where people assume it would work the same way and then realize very quickly you cannot.
It is not the same.
Yeah. All right, we've waffled enough. Another question. Vivian.
1 second, I'm on my way. Mic enabled.
Hi, Vivian.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
We can, yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I guess I'm sort of piggybacking on your last comment there. We're just seeing some things that are a little puzzling around, like we've set up our compliance profiles and we've done a few journeys where we've sent out our newsletters, and there's just a few contacts that are showing up as no consent in the analytics. And they're either people that shouldn't have been on the list in the first place or that have actually opted in. And so we're trying to like sort of dig in and see what is causing these hiccups. we found that maybe it has something to do with the do not email, not to be confused with the do not bulk email field that is actually a real-time field. So I'm just wondering, like, we've got to take it open with Microsoft, but if you have any experience with that, or if you've seen this interfere in other environments.
Depends on your consent model, right?
And
Because if I was,
are the emails transactional or commercial, first of all?
Yeah, they're commercial, and we're
Okay.
seeing, you know, where we've looked at the topics and the you know, the commercial opt-in levels, and there are different, you know, people are set up differently with different levels of consent, but there's just this consistent no consent kind of bouncing that's happening, that's skewing our block numbers.
Yeah.
so there's lots of places you need to check. So it depends.
Yeah.
If you got the indicator turned on to say check the contact, do not allow email fields, or have you got that turned off?
In the feature switches.
Oh, that's a good question. I'd have to check that.
Yeah. So if that's turned on, obviously it then checks do not email and do not bulk email. It checks both of them. And if it's commercial,
Okay.
you need both to be allowed. So I'm guessing that's probably where it's getting hung up. So that would be my first port of call, that if your consent model is still checking the contact point, also bear in mind that you could have more than one contact with the same email. So if you've got 5 contacts with the same email, one of them says do not allow, nobody gets it. So it goes with the most restrictive. So
would that show
possibly
up
duplicates.
as a duplicate email error message or a no
No,
consent
because
email?
they'd pick the least consented and they'd say
Okay.
no consent and they'd stop it, and then the rest would be the duplicates.
So
So
it
they
could be
always
issues.
choose the most restrictive profile, which is nice but annoying. So possibly duplicates with different consents, and one of them is opted out, and you're looking at the one that's opted in. Obviously, when you get to contact point, it's tied to the email, so that's fine. But if you're still checking the contact points, no, contact points is a bad word, contact fields, then that might be why. Also bear in mind that purposes and topics are kind of a hierarchy. So if someone's opted into a topic, they also have to be opted into the purpose that it belongs to receive the email for that topic.
Okay, yeah, we did run into that and find that we needed to have that
Yes.
field on our form. So we jumped through that hoop, but we're still finding these hiccups. So that gives me a few paths to go down. Thank you.
I was
That's
just
okay.
going to say the other thing, there's a feature switch, I'm putting this in the chat for you as well, that I would check. So when you're talking about, and Amey saying about the duplication, how it would look at the one with the least amount of consent.
Yes.
But also check, because there is a feature switch called email deduplication. So if that is turned on, then in theory, you would only have one person with that email that would be allowed through. So essentially the point is, if you've got a segment and you have built your segment and you've got 3 versions of Amey Holden and she's linked to the same account, then obviously her filtering would say, oh, you've got all 3 versions of Amey if they all meet that criteria. So that email deduplication is intended to say, don't try and send the same email more than once to an email address. So in theory, in yours, where you're saying no consent, then it should have stopped the other ones. But you also need to be aware of that, because if it didn't, and it's allowing someone to go through, then the other versions will just follow on and also get the email.
Okay, perfect.
So
thank you.
If you've not looked at feature switches in any sort of significant time, it's worth going through those and reviewing. Some of the descriptions are a little questionable. So, and even I look at it and I go through training and I've not seen a feature switch before, and I think, I have no clue what that actually means. I'm making assumptions. So with some of them, the wording's a bit crappy. Some of them have links to documentation pages, but it would be worth going through. Just as a side note, when we're talking about feature switches, sometimes I'm a bit appalled. Sorry, I'm not trying to call out companies, but the companies that are like sending emails out to consumers. So in other words, they've got a ton of contacts that have Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo, and have never heard of one-click unsubscribe, and so are not up to date on marketing laws and rules. So a lot of those things, definitely make sure you're going through and have a conscious decision of, do we need this or do we not? Do we know if we need it or not? And if you don't, find out what those feature switches mean, because they could be significant things that are helping you to prevent you from sending stuff to people that you shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully,
okay, thank you so much.
you can have some fun in the feature switch area. Also,
we might have different definitions of fun.
Well, yes, but also another side note on feature switches is whenever there's a new update, that is typically when there's stuff that is in preview, typically you will have a feature switch that goes along with it. So if you think, oh, I know there was some kind of feature that's come in, just check to see if there's something that allows you to turn it on or turn it off. And that ends my rant on feature switches.
There is actually a docs page now that's reasonably up to date that's dedicated to feature switches. Yeah, and it gives you all the switches.
Oh, okay.
The descriptions are hit and miss, not gonna lie, but sometimes the description does help. And there is a page somewhere. I mean, I'll ask my good friend Google.
Yeah, have a look, because I thought that as I was saying it, I was like, it'd be really good if there was some kind of documentation page. Maybe it's in the setup somewhere.
There we go. My friend Google found it.
Brilliant.
There we go. I will put it against Vivian's question.
Excellent. Perfect. Hopefully that helps you, Vivian. Richard Epton, we have a question from.
Stand by. Richard Epton,
Thanks
glad to
for
see one of you.
I'm going to put that in my next issue of the newsletter.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Me and my Google. Richard, your question.
Hi. So when I'm looking at members in a segment, I'm looking at trying to filter or sort them, but the option's always grayed out. I don't know if I'm just missing something or.
Yeah, it's all your fault.
Yeah, you are totally missing. You're missing great functionality, Richard. That's what you're missing. Yes. Amey, do you want to share about the way you have found, but also that it's a bit hit and miss?
Yes. So it's a couple of ways. This is one of the hills that I decided to try and die on this year. Still dying on it. No one came to rescue me. So if you can get fields to show and disappear by adding them as a condition in the segment, but it only works for like text fields and option sets or something. So you can do like a false positive. So you can say like job title contains data, job title does not contain data, or it will then include that field in the preview section window. But again, it doesn't work for all field types, but it helps a little bit. In terms of sorting and filtering, there is absolutely nothing. You are not missing anything. That is just how it is. What I did is I actually, thank you, Megan, for putting my blog post in there. I built a custom page that does this exact thing. So I'm using like the Canvas app style functionality to create a gallery. The Canvas, the custom page goes and grabs the segment members, then displays them in a gallery. You can decide exactly what columns you want. You build the filtering. It's pretty nice. It's not super complicated because I'm not a whiz with Canvas apps. It's not super complicated to do. So have a look at that post if that's useful to you. You're not missing anything. I know, again, it's something that's probably on the roadmap somewhere, but I think it's also in the too hard and we have lots of other problems bucket. So if it's important to you, I would say this is the kind of thing that you can reliably custom build and not feel like you wasted time on it.
Okay, I'll take a look at that. Thank you.
Yeah.
No worries.
Just put that other post in there as well for you. So
thank you.
Not a problem. All right. So we've got about 10 minutes left. So you've got a question, get it in quick. Anything else you can think of? Oh, one thing, we have recorded all of these. So there are 5 other sessions with, especially the first 2, a ton of questions that we couldn't actually get through them all. So if you either are not sure because you've only just started, you don't actually even know what your questions are yet, that's an option, or you're just not comfortable putting a question in, definitely by all means go ahead and look at those. They're on my YouTube channel, so you should be able to find them pretty easy in a playlist. But yeah, there's a lot of things I think are you won't know until you get to it, unfortunately, for some things, because once you dig into it, you realize like, oh, I thought it was going to work this way. And I think Amey and I have probably done this as well with some areas where you think, oh, that'll be fine. And then you get into it and you think, oh, it's not fine. It's not fine. So yeah, fun times for everybody.
The consent stuff is still a headache. It's still something that gives me the heebie-jeebies. I like what it is, but it's hard to get there.
Yep, agreed. Okay, so I guess looks like no more questions. I don't have anything else to waffle on, so we'll call it a day.
I mean, I just started looking, and apparently you can enable contact center integration with, I'm looking at the feature switches documentation. I'm like, interesting.
Oh, which
I don't know if that's new. It's on the section for integrations. I know nothing about this. There's no links to it either, but now I'm super curious.
That is not there yet, and I have the last. Yeah, it's not there yet, and I'm on the latest version in my environment, so it is obviously a coming soon. Somebody's exceptionally eager about updating the documentation page, but yeah, it's not there yet.
Anyway, that was a very lame announcement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a wrap. It's
yes.
a pleasure.
Awesome. We might do another one in the future. We might not. We'll see. But hopefully these have been helpful. And if you join more than one, which some people have, we appreciate your support. So hopefully it's helped. That's it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.